and to catch up with old buds. But I also think that Justin's in a fragile space because of all of this re-traumatization, seeing Diddy get in trouble. This article writes, the ongoing SA lawsuits fixated on blowing the lid off embattled hip-hop figure Diddy. They've also talked about Justin's relationship with Diddy and these viral videos of Justin as a kid hanging out with this man who we know now as a monster. Multiple re-emerging clips have focused on the unhealthy and creepy dynamic between now.
Bad boy, bad boy. Bad boy. Oh, he's bad boy now.
Be praying for Justin Bieber.
People are wondering if it's a sign that he might be in a crisis. He's reported to be acting erratically and strange.
This might be connected directly to P. Diddy.
Bad boy. Oh, he's bad boy now. He's bad boy now.
Friends are worried that he's spiraling again.
Justin Bieber is falling apart and he's crying out for help. His wife, Hailey Bieber, isn't helping the situation either.
Wow, there's a lot to unpack here. Justin is dropping bombs on gatekeepers and does not want to be part of the club. That's some real talk.
I look and I go, oh, that's your big homie, right? So you image yourself after a gay painter. Okay. Big homie want to look like a gay painter.
What are we talking about here?
We're talking about Basquiat. He wants to look like a gay painter.
Diddy's journey in the music business also includes interning and founding Bad Boy Records. But then Mark Curry comes in with severe allegations about Diddy's behavior behind the scenes. Now Justin is telling the world, through his actions and beliefs, that the whole team, aka Jay-Z and Beyonce, converging for Diddy is crazy.
Club either. And what I realized with the club is what makes them so mad is when you don't want to be a part of their club. That pisses them off. What club am I talking about? I'm talking about the club of gatekeepers. The important thing is, for me to go on these platforms, say what I feel about what I think. And, some people may get pissed off because I'm going to talk to everybody.
It also sounds like Curry's painting a pretty grim picture, talking about Diddy being overly cocky and even physically violent toward women, producers, and other execs. That's heavy stuff. And when he says Diddy's fighting with himself, battling addiction and whatnot, it's a whole different level of sad.
Did I see these kind of things in his actions when I knew him or when I was around him? Did I see him have those bursts of violence? Just not on, you'd be like, he did it. If you've seen that, it was another video. He won some, he just over cocky. That's why he got fired from Uptown. He's over, what do you call someone who's overly confident? To the point to where it's called arrogance, right? He's arrogant. Nothing wrong with being arrogant, but when you're arrogant and you do it in spiteful ways, then, so when I seen that and I reflect, and I'm like, man, I do remember seeing him be being physically violent towards females. I seen him be physically violent towards producers, other record execs, even artists. Always those kind of stories, man. But those stories are seen from the inside out, not from the outside in. So it's just like, sometimes you can tell, as a man, you'd be like, look, we're gonna need a fair one, or we a one-on-one, a fair one-on-one, and we fight as men so we can come to a resolution, right? So sometimes we fight as men, but you see that sometimes they fight, they keep fighting. They fighting with women, they fighting with people, they fighting with love, they fighting with they self. I seen him fight with his own self. I seen him be violent to his own self, forget anybody else. I seen him beat his own self up.
Wow, what you mean by that?
Meaning you putting yourself through so much stuff. You beating your own self up. You bringing yourself down with whatever kind of things you need at that time, whether it be alcohol, whether it be pills or whatever it is that you need. Sometimes people get addicted to pills. And when they get addicted to pills, that it alters the ego. All of that kind of stuff, devices. I seen it all, man.
And you said that you seen him get physical with his own orders?
Meaning like producers, mainly the hitmen. Mainly the producers. And what I mean by physical, it'd be like sometimes it might be a physical fight between him and someone else. And you say, wow, you're fighting even with your own artists. You're fighting when you go home. You're fighting with people in your office. You're fighting with your girlfriend. You're fighting with me. You just want to fight everybody, don't you? And that's what, when you think of that name, that might be what he defines bad boy. It's really about that energy that he feels like what makes him. That's what makes him.
These allegations are no joke. Some of the lawsuits are chilling, with people claiming Diddy coerced them into sex and even raped them. Cassie, his ex, dropped a bombshell in November 2023, saying he filmed her with male sex workers and then assaulted her.
There was a search warrant that was executed at his home. Again, doesn't mean that he was a target of the search warrant, but of course, by just the reasonable inferences that you can make that he is the target of the search warrant, it could take some time because, number one, if they did take any electronic devices from his home or from his person, they have to be able to conduct a forensic examination from those devices. And it will depend, are there passcodes? Are they able to break those passcodes and get through those devices in order to get that information? And then what is in those electronic devices? Is there anything that's incriminating in those criminal devices that can be used against them? Because again, it's not about making an arrest, especially when you're talking about Puff Daddy, Sean Diddy Combs. You want to make sure that if he is arrested and he is prosecuted, that you can prove your case beyond a reasonable doubt. So you want to make the best and strongest case possible in the very beginning before you make an arrest. So to be honest, it can be any day or it can be months from now, or nothing can happen. They can say we don't have enough credible evidence to prove his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt and leave it at that. Because again, a civil lawsuit is completely different than a criminal prosecution. Civil lawsuit, the burden is more likely than not, as opposed to a criminal prosecution. You have to be able to prove his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, and you don't want to get left with egg on your face if you don't get a conviction.
We also spoke to law and crime legal analyst Julie Rendelman about the raids. She says it smells trouble for Diddy.
I think anytime you have Homeland Security raiding both of your homes, you know that there's potential trouble heading in your direction.
So do you think that criminal charges will eventually be filed?
Any attorney, whether it be a federal or state prosecutor or defense attorney who hears that P. Diddy's home, both homes have been raided by federal agents, is going to think the exact same thing, that he is very, very likely headed towards criminal charges.
And what sort of criminal charges would he face? I know that there's allegations of sex trafficking, drug trafficking, even gun trafficking. Is it possible he faces all of those?
Absolutely. I think if we're going to see charges, we're going to see those charges, just like you mentioned, very similar to what we saw in R. Kelly. It seems to be almost the exact pattern that we saw in that case in terms of civil suits, and then suddenly we're headed towards criminal prosecution. So I think we're going to see, and again, I'm guessing a very similar timeline and road that we saw previously with R. Kelly.
So let's take a closer look at those civil suits, because that does kind of mirror R. Kelly and then now what's going on with P. Diddy. So the one most recently that was filed last month was by Lil Rod. It was almost 100 pages and there were several huge bombshells and celebrity names that were dropped. Did you have a chance to look at that? What do you think of that lawsuit?
Well, that's the most recent lawsuit, and that one distinguishes itself because that one is from I believe in 2022, we're talking about, when he worked with him, I think for about a year. And part of the bombshell, I think, is not just the names that we're hearing, but also the potential, because he talks about having video of some of these alleged illegal activities. And so it is possible that it's not just his word, but there might be actual picture or video corroboration that would make it much more difficult for P. Diddy in terms of defense strategy, if in fact that exists, and if in fact what's on it is criminal in nature.
So let's start with Lil Rod's lawsuit against Diddy, because it dropped some major bombshells. And experts we spoke to say it was likely that suit and the mention of hidden cameras that led to the feds searching Diddy's homes.
Well, I think...
And there's this anonymous woman, just known as Jane Doe, who says Diddy and his crew drugged and raped her when she was just 17.
This was the beginning of 2020. You know what I mean? Diddy had put everybody else out the crib, like the influx of people, he had put them out. But he had took a liking to me in particular around the time, man. It was really, you know what I mean, like putting his arm around me.
Right.
So he had put majority of the people out, but he allowed me to stay in there.
Mm-hmm.
Me and, you know, maybe about 15 others, you know.
Right.
Jay-Z and Beyonce being, you know, two of the other 15 people in the room. So that'll just put it into perspective of the type of company I was in at the moment, you know. And
The force?
No, not at all. In terms of how they were stopped and how they were detained, you have to think that when officers are going in to execute a search warrant, and I've written numerous search warrants as a former prosecutor, and they've been gone out to execute a search warrant as part of the officers. In terms of how it was executed and the force that they used, they immediately tried to detain any individuals that are inside of the home, and that's to just make sure they, one, identify who they are, but number two, and primarily the reason is for their own safety, the safety of the individual, as well as the safety of law enforcement. Again, we do not know what is the information that law enforcement had before going in to execute that search warrant. But a sign this shows me is that they had information that it's possible that the individuals that are inside of that house could be armed.
Now, Diddy has not been charged with a crime, so if the investigators here and the prosecutors here decide charges are warranted, is there any sense of how long that could take after a raid like this?
It could take weeks, it could take months. And the reason why is because they gathered so much evidence. Supposedly they gathered so many videos and laptops and also electronic devices, and they have to now conduct a forensic investigation of those items and to see what are on those items. And first off, they have to ask whether they have the passcodes to those items, because not having the passcodes could create a delay in investigating those items. But then aside from that, once they are able to get into those items, they're going to continue to build from that and see where the evidence leads them.
Diddy's fighting back, though. He's denying everything, swearing he's innocent. However, with the pressure mounting, brands are cutting ties with him, and even his Hulu show has been scrapped.
I just can't have, certain kind of men, around, when I want something to eat, I have a certain kind of man that goes and gets my food. Or if I'm going to take a flight and I need some underwear from my house, I have a certain kind of man that goes to my house and get the underwear. If I just want to get my car washed, I have a certain kind of man that goes and does it. And it was almost like these certain kind of men were being used as, they're just do-boys. People who always will do whatever he would ask them to do.
Clearly, a federal judge signed off on this in order for these properties to be raided. And who are they raiding?
It's a mess, dragging up some long-standing accusations against Diddy. He's standing his ground, saying he will fight to clear his name. There is so much going on that we are just shocked. A notable whistleblower states the following. So it looks like Sean P. Diddy is eager to bring the Carters down with him. Rapper Jay-Z was having an affair with Kathy White, who was said to be pregnant with Jay-Z's kid when she died in 2010. This information comes from an unidentified retired medical assistant to Kathy's previous OB/GYN, who is thought to be willing to speak to authorities or the media. This was about the time Beyonce was pregnant with Blue Ivy. C. White was prepared to discuss her connection or romance with Jay-Z before Beyonce's pregnancy announcement at the VMAs. Of course, this has made many people in the public relations industry uneasy, including those Jay-Z works with to keep his image clean.
Like, just filled with chicks and like nonstop, right?
No, not really. I mean, but hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was, but I don't know indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was pretty wild.
So nobody tried to, some woman didn't come along.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I didn't say that. What I did say is that there were very curious things taking place.
Uh-huh.
Kathy White was said to have died of a brain aneurysm. Claudia Jordan's closest friend is also deceased, and Jay-Z looks to be implicated in this tragedy as well. Some may dismiss this as an average rumor without reality, but consider what Kanye West said years ago during the St. Pablo tour about Jay-Z and his perspective, killers for hire. But that's not it. Katt Williams also exposes why Beyonce is terrified of Diddy.
I'll need you to tell us why.
People know I don't go everywhere. I'm not interested in talking to people unless it's like a Larry King or somebody of an amazing ilk that I would actually want to go talk to in real life.
Okay.
I don't do it so I can sell product, and I got things to sell, so let me come talk. You have a great product here, and as a fan base, we love the attention that you spend on the guest. We love how much work you've done, how well you know them, how prepared you are. The same things that we liked about you in football. You brought that on over to here, and that's why it resonates. And the reason I had to come is because you've made a safe place for the truth to be told. You know what I mean?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I have watched all of these lowbrow comedians come here and disrespect you in your face and tell you straight up lies. I'm talking about things that have never been heard in all of Black Hollywood. They feel comfortable sitting here and lying to you about it.
You gonna set the record straight?
Are you kidding me? You let Ricky Smiley sit here and you said out that mouth, you stole Friday After Next, the one I was in. I wish all of America fumbled a bit when that happened. And then he said some stuff that we haven't heard in 100 years in Hollywood. You ain't say nothing. This man told you he had Katt Williams' role. He was gonna be Money Mike. And Katt Williams was gonna be the Santa Claus. Now let's, 3 quick points. You mean in Hollywood they cast a 5'5" black Santa Claus that weigh 145 pounds? That's your story. Your story is the Ricky Smiley that couldn't even do curse words because he had a Christian fan base. He was gonna play the pimp. Why you didn't ask him why has he played a woman in more movies?
This could be one of the reasons Jay-Z began to distance himself from Dame Dash and cover up for Diddy for his good. This led to the infamous Def Jam meeting, at which D-Dash walked in and went on a tirade about why Def Jam was holding a meeting with his artist, Jay-Z, at the time, without notifying him in advance.
The man who allegedly opened fire inside of one of former President Donald Trump's Florida hotels several years ago made some wild statements to law enforcement in his interviews, saying he was a sex slave for Sean Diddy Combs. Well, now that federal investigators have raided 2 of the rapper's homes and an arrest and indictment in a sex trafficking operation could be imminent, the man's comments sound a little less crazy. We'll talk about it. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Okay, I'm going to talk about something that I really didn't think I would. Something that when I first heard it, I actually had no idea what this was even about. So this came up during multiple times during our live Q&A shows on the Law and Crime Network when we were covering questions on the Sean Combs case. And a name kept coming up in connection with Combs, and I couldn't understand it. Jonathan Oddie. Now, that name may seem familiar to you, and I will explain why. But what I'm also going to do is try to break down and possibly debunk the connection between this man and Combs, but maybe not. Because as wild as some of his claims were, they may make sense now. We'll talk about that. The reason I say all of this is because after several bombshell lawsuits were filed against Combs, accusing him of sexual assault, physical violence, human trafficking, after federal agents raided his homes, reportedly pursuant to an ongoing sex trafficking investigation, all of these numerous videos and social media posts and old interviews and more, they've all popped up. Particularly in the last 2 weeks, people trying to make some connections between what he said or people said and these allegations. Now, to be clear, Combs has not been charged with any crimes connected to this raid, but his charges may be on the horizon and the investigation continues. There is something that has surfaced. This police interrogation of a man who allegedly opened fire inside of one of former President Donald Trump's hotels, Jonathan Oddie. What is his connection to Diddy? Or should I say, perceived connection to Diddy? Let me give you a little background. Now, you might remember back in 2018, a man went into the Trump National Doral Miami Hotel and Resort in the middle of the night and went on a rampage. The state attorney's office says that Jonathan Oddie fired shots inside the lobby and toward the chandelier on the ceiling, then draped a giant American flag across the hotel's front desk. He allegedly walked around breaking items like computer monitors, throwing things around the lobby. When police officers arrived and confronted him, there was a shootout. Oddie seemingly tried to make a run for it, but he had been shot in the leg. He didn't get very far. Police found him hiding. They took him into custody. Oddie was taken to the hospital with 3 gunshot wounds, 2 in one leg, 1 in the other. And while at the hospital, Oddie reportedly made several bizarre statements and asked repeatedly to speak with the FBI, Secret Service, CIA, the media. When Oddie appeared before a judge, he didn't make any kind of wild outburst, but he seemingly admitted to committing at least one of the crimes he's charged with.
1 count of aggravated assault with a firearm, 1 count of armed burglary with a battery or an assault, 1 count of armed criminal mischief causing damages greater than $1,000, 1 count of armed grand theft, and 1 count of making a false fire alarm offense. So those are the charges. Sir, do you have any money to pay for your own private attorney?
I will request as of now that the court grants me an attorney. I do have funds to pay for my attorney, but I haven't had time to meet with him yet. So I don't know if they're going to take my case or not.
Given the serious nature of these charges, I will appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you for this preliminary first appearance hearing. Well, it's very clear. It says surveillance footage and witness accounts corroborate that the defendant discharged a handgun multiple times at the arriving City of Doral Police Department and Miami-Dade Police Department law enforcement officers. So that, even though it doesn't specifically state 5, it does mention that there were more than, I believe, two uniformed officers, in addition to the unarmed security guard who threatened to kill as well. And there was damages greater than $1,000 at the Trump National Doral, because it says it was over $30,000. So, anything else?
Well, unclear. Well, like I said, there's unclear. There's not a number specifically listed. There could have been 1 officer on one side and 1 officer on the other, and that's officers in general and plural. As far as that's, and I don't think I didn't see necessarily the alarm pushing, but that might I did push alarm.
It's not specifically mentioned here, although. Okay. You know, sir, everything's being recorded, just so you know. If you want to speak, it's fine. I'm happy to listen. Your attorney turned the microphone.
We've all seen the notorious Jeffrey Epstein Island list, which included Beyonce and Jay-Z. So, of course, there is certainly more to investigate in that area. But for the time being, the attention appears to be on P. Diddy, who has unique information about Kathy White's death and is prepared to use it to bring down Jay-Z and a slew of other individuals, including T.D. Jakes. I've always felt they were wicked, so I would never support anything Beyonce does. As previously said, an old video of Justin and Combs has surfaced, and in one of them, the rapper discusses hanging out with Bieber for 48 hours. He says, "Where we're hanging out and what we're doing, we can't disclose, but it's a 15-year-old's dream," which has made netizens uncomfortable with these films. Combs also emphasized Bieber's mutual relationship with Usher. Netizens find it strange. See their reactions here. This gets much more terrifying considering Justin's comments regarding the music industry. According to the People's Voice story, Bieber said that Combs is not the only predator in the industry. Bieber allegedly told Bible study groups that the music industry is rife with pedophilia. According to a member of the congregation, the sorry singer admitted that it was an open secret that Jay-Z and his close colleagues reportedly are *P and murdered children in satanic rituals.
Fine. Anything in that lawsuit, you gotta realize that we only got a portion of it because it's been chopped up. Things has been taken out. So somebody would look a certain way. Now, they left some of the things in there. But I'm sure plenty of times Cassie may have seen some stuff that she ain't really want to look at.
Christopher Williams to perform a act on him.
Conversation that she had with Diddy after. See, Christopher Williams, I don't know, I guess he wanted to sign. I don't know what happened. But Puff was supposed to be giving him a demo deal, and he gave him a demo deal, and I guess it was supposed to turn into an album deal, which that never happened. But this young woman walked in to get approval or some paperwork. See. And the door wasn't locked, so she didn't think twice about just walking in. And when she walked in, she saw Christopher Williams performing fellatio on Puff. Now,
Usher stayed with Sean Diddy Combs after landing a deal with L.A. Reid's company. He allegedly dubbed the event Flavor Camp, where girls were always present. In 2004, Usher told Rolling Stone, "You'd open a door and see someone doing it, or several people in a room having an O**jai." Again, when Usher appeared on The Howard Stern Show in 2016, he commented on his stay at Diddy's residence, saying, "Inquisitive things were going on, and I didn't necessarily understand it." According to the Hindustan Times, the celebrities whose names surfaced in the court filings included those from the music business and others. One of the more startling names to emerge on the list is Prince Harry. Aside from him, Nipsey Hussle, or Stevie J, an R&B musician who won a Grammy for Best Singer and was arrested for assaulting a Bajan multimillionaire, is also on the court record. The paper also includes the names of Young Miami, Moses T.D. Bishop, T.D. Jakes, Cassie Ventura, and musical luminaries Donald Lawrence and the Clark sisters.
Superhead, I think it was Superhead, or it was some chick that Slam brought to him while Jennifer was upstairs. And he said, "Yo, Gene, watch the door, don't let nobody come through here." And I said, I watched the door. If I watched the door and him and a man ran out naked, and I said that, ain't nobody told me that. I saw that myself. I'm telling you what I saw myself. I'm not repeating nothing that somebody told me.
The feds recently raided Diddy's properties in Los Angeles and Miami, resulting in this explosion.